भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। शृणुतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवण कीर्तन हृदयन्तस्थो ह्यभद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सुताम्। Hare Krishna. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 11, verse number 16. अनेक बाहूदर क्वत्र नेत्रम पश्यामि त्वां सर्वतो अनन्तरूपं नान्तं न मध्यं न पुनस्तवादिं पश्यामि विश्वेश्वर विश्वरूप। अनेक बाहूदर क्वत्र नेत्रं पश्यामि त्वां सर्वतो अनन्तरूपं नान्तं न मध्यं न पुनस्त्वादिं पश्यामि विश्वेश्वर विश्वरूप। अनेक बाहूदर वक्त्र नेत्रं पश्यामि त्वां सर्वतोऽनन्तरूपं नान्तं न मध्यं न पुनस्त्वादिं पश्यामि विश्वेश्वर विश्वरूपम्। Synonyms, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada. Anek, many, bahu, arms, udara, bellies, vaktra, mouth, netram, eyes, pashyami, I see, tvam, you, sarvata, on all sides, ananta rupam, unlimited form, na antam, no end, na madhyam, no middle, na punah, nor again, tav, your, adim, beginning, pashyami, I see, vishwarupam, sorry, alarm went off. Pashyami, I see, Vishwaswara, O Lord of the universe, Vishwarupa, in the forms of universe. O Lord of the universe, O universal form, I see in your body many, many arms, bellies, mouths, and eyes, expanded everywhere without limit. I see in you no end, no middle, and no beginning. Purport. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is unlimited. Thus, through him, everything could be seen. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarine Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jutapadakamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsya, He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate, Gopesha Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta Namastute, Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Rishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye, Vancha Kalpataru Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. Since to all the simple Vaishnavas, seek your blessing so that I can add some value to this hour. So, I want to thank and seek blessing of Grace Simeshwar Prabhu for engaging me in this seva. This way I can do some Shastra reading, meditate on some verses, few verses of related to Krishna, can purify and cleanse my heart, my mind, my Vani. Thankful to Prabhuji. We are reading the Virat Rupa. Chapter name is the Universal Form, Virat Rupa. This very special verse, this is the only verse where you see this Vishwarupa word coming, which is in a way indicating the summary or the marquee of the chapter. Now, the context here is that Krishna described in the chapter, 10th chapter, about himself. And he gave examples, and then examples were to understand. We have to understand that there is no parallel to Krishna. Krishna's example can only be Krishna. We cannot understand by or no other example is befitting to describe Krishna. But because Krishna is so merciful that he wants us to understand, and our limitation, we have limitation of our mental power, we have limitation of our understanding, we have limitations. Hare Krishna Prabhu, I think we have to go on. So we have limitation on our understanding, we have limitations on our senses, we have limitation of experiences. Just like we say that it's a very famous example, and then it's also a proverb, Upa Manduk, frog in a well. So there's very limited knowledge that a frog in a well cannot understand the vastness of an ocean. So when a frog from the ocean visits a frog in the well, then the frog in the well is asking, how big is the ocean? And then he makes a jump and says, is it this big? He says, no, ocean is much bigger. He makes another even bigger jump and says, oh, is it this big? And then finally he makes from one end of the well to the other end of the well a jump, and then says that, is it really this big? And now that's actually, if you look at it, it's actually laughable that you're trying to compare a well with the ocean. So just like that, there's very famous poet who says that Bhagwan's Mukh Mandal is like Bhagwan's Mukh Mandal. Because of some limitation, some understanding, the upama given, or the example given is that okay, Bhagwan's face is like lotus. Bhagwan's uh, kar kar kamal, we say lotus face, mukh kamal, kar kamal, pad kamal, because that we see is the closest which is coming to the understanding of, that's the closest with which we can understand, our human mind, human capacity can understand and try to think about and meditate on Krishna. So similarly, Krishna gives these examples. He gave 84 examples to Arjuna, and then that actually made Arjuna ask this question that can I please see your Virat Rupa? And when Arjuna is asking about Krishna's Virat Rupa form, he is actually, he knows that Virat Rupa form is lesser. But then why is he asking? You have to understand. So Acharyas give example that Arjuna is asking Krishna to show his Virat Rupa form because in the future many pseudo gods, Falugu Bhagwans will actually appear, and they will claim themselves as God. Okay? And when they claim themselves as God, this should act as a litmus test. A test that, okay, fine, if you say that you are Bhagwan, then show the Virat Rupa form. Now, with this, it's settled that anybody who in the future will claim that, okay, I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I am Bhagwan, I am Krishna, or I am even beyond Krishna, the person has to prove by this litmus test that Virat Rupa. Now, in verse number 364, Prabhupada explains, not sure if it's visible here, the Virat Rupa or Vishwarupa, the gigantic universal form of the Lord, which is very much appreciated by impersonalists, is not an eternal form of the Lord. So it's not the actual form. What is the actual form of Krishna? Venu, Quantum, while he's playing the flute. Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya. He's so beautiful that, Koti, Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya. He's enchanted, he's more enchanting than the millions of cupids. So that's the form, and that form is present right in front of Arjuna. Okay? But for the reason that nobody in the future should actually claim to be God, so he's requesting Krishna to show that form. Now the second part which comes after that is that that form is not visible, okay, by the plain simple eyes. Krishna has to actually provide divya drishti. Now, is that then this divya drishti some kind of upgrade which Arjuna got to see the form of Krishna? Okay. Because it's something which he did not have. And then if we are saying that the two-handed, Shyamasundar form was already present in front of Arjuna, then why is he not able to see the form which is the ansha, or the ansha of the ansha form of Krishna? So again here, Acharyas explain that the reason Krishna is providing Arjuna the vision, Divya Drishti, to see this universal form is because a devotee's mind is not ready to see anybody other than Krishna's, Shyama Sundar form, is not ready to accept. And that's why at the senses level, Krishna is providing this Divya Drishti that, okay, you're not ready to put your mind to see this, so please have these senses, Divya Drishti, using which you will be able to see. So that's what happens. And then after that, again, now how will we understand? How will Dhritarashtra understand? How will anybody who's reading the Shastra will understand that what kind of form is that Vishwarupa form? Okay. So to explain that, what is being described here? What is that Arjuna is saying that it is like thousands of suns coming in the sky at one point. So just imagine that one sun, and then in Uttarayan, when the summer comes, and then the temperature goes till 50 degrees Celsius, in the hundreds of Fahrenheit, 100 Fahrenheit and above. It becomes so blazing hot, we cannot, we are not able to bear, and that is with just one sun. Okay. Now, if thousands of suns are blazing in the sky, that's just, we can just imagine and then pray that never happens. So Krishna's Vishwarupa form is like that. Now, question here that has Krishna shown this form to anybody else before this? Yeah. Can I answer this? Or is this the first time Krishna is showing this form? I'll give you a hint. There is one more time Krishna has shown, not the complete Vishwarupa form, but a glimpse of it. He has shown it to one person.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Are you? I'm sorry, I got distracted. You're asking like if he has shown the universal form before?
Yes.
Yes. A couple of times. First, he showed it to Yashoda Mataji, Yashoda Maya, when he opened his mouth. I think 2 times he showed, and then lately I learned Akrura.
Okay. So I'm not sure about Akrura Mataji, but yeah.
One second, Prabhuji, just 1 second, Hari.
So Mataji is saying, yes, in case of Yashoda Mai also, it's actually not the universal form which Krishna showed.
And now I remember, Prabhuji. Okay, yeah, in his mouth he showed, right? But
yes.
not the universal form, but in the assembly, when he went Duryodhan, like Duryodhan could not see it, but Bhishma Pitama and Yeah, he showed it then. But lately only I learned through these classes only that he showed it. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed it, like to someone I don't remember, but it was shown a couple of times before it was shown to Arjuna. But I don't exactly remember like who all. But I know it is more than one time, and this was not the first time.
Okay, wonderful.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Hari Bol. So
Hare
last week, Krishna Ramana Prabhu took the class, and he
9 times,
described
I think. Yeah.
like he described like 8 different times. He showed the partial Vishwarupa form or something, not full like what he showed it to the Arjun, but
Right.
yeah. So that's what the Mataji is talking about. Am I right, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
Okay, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yes, thank you, Jayaprakash.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And I also learned, so I need to do some research here and figure out where are others. So, maybe I'll listen to that class. I was aware.
According to Krishna Ramana Prabhu, it was like 8 different times.
Right. So, I'll check that class, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for that. But I was aware of that. He showed it partially to Duryodhana before this. And in case of Mother Yashoda, he had shown in the mouth. So it was, we can, in a way, we can think about, but it was actually not the universal form. He was showing his mouth. So now there is, when he showed that universal form to Duryodhana, there is a very beautiful poem. Everybody is okay. I would like to read that here. It's Duryodhana wanted to capture Krishna, and that's the context in which this poem is written. That Duryodhana wants to, when Krishna goes as a Shanti Dut to this particular assembly of Dhritarashtra to convince that please, if you cannot give, the half of the kingdom, then at least give 5 villages so that our Pandavas can actually rule those 5 villages and then earn their living. Because they are Kshatriya, so they cannot work like anybody else normally. And then when I learned about this poem, it's written by Ramadhari Singh Dinkar. It really amazed me that how learned the poets from earlier generations were there. That they will actually. I didn't find a single line in that poem which was contradicting Shastra. It was very Shastra Vidit, or as per the Shastra. And actually, all these different colors or different forms of the art are actually meant for Krishna only, and to glorify and portray and then sing. But with the degradation of time, they are actually changing, and then are becoming more like for sense enjoyment and gratification. But otherwise, these forms were, and then the proponents of those forms also were actually utilizing it for glorifying Krishna only. But, with the degradation of time, it's becoming more like, okay, for sense enjoyment. In fact, not only that, it's also becoming being used to negate and defy the Shastras, show them in bad light, start calling them mythology. Okay? I'll just read that. Is that visible when I'm opening that up? I have it opened on another tab. or is my Veda verse only visible?
No, Prabhu, you can read the poem.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. This is written by Ramadhari Singh Dinkar, and then as we'll see, it's Krishna ki Chetavani. That's the verse, and I'm so sorry if some of us are not able to understand it completely. But if you have questions, I'll probably be able to translate. Looking at the audience, I think most of us will be able to understand. So it goes like, वर्षों तक वन में घूम घूम बाधा विघ्नों को चूम चूम सह धूप घाम पानी पत्थर पांडव आए कुछ और निखर सौभाग्य न सब दिन सोता है देखे आगे क्या होता है. So background is that Krishna is actually in the assembly as a Shanti Dut, and that's where this is happening. मैत्री की राह बताने को सबको सुमार्ग पर लाने को दुर्योधन को समझाने को भीषण विध्वंस बचाने को भगवान हस्तिनापुर आए पांडव का संदेशा लाए. Now, I really love this part that how he's using Bhagwan, not using any other word. Bhagwan Hastinapur आए. Then what is Krishna saying there? दो न्याय अगर तो आधा दो पर इसमें भी यदि बाधा हो तो दे दो केवल 5 ग्राम रखो अपनी धरती तमाम हम वही खुशी से खाएंगे परिजन पर असी न उठाएंगे. असी means weapons, saying that give us at least 5 villages. दुर्योधन वह भी दे न सका आशीष समाज की ले न सका उल्टे हरि को बांधने चला जो था असाध्य साधने चला जब नाश मनुज पर छाता है पहले विवेक मर जाता. So nicely describing that he has lost his mind because he is going towards his he's approaching his end fast. He's trying to capture somebody who is uncapturable, and that too, with a rope and Yashoda Maya was able to bind Krishna with that was with the love, not with with the inimical mind. Somebody cannot bind Krishna. That's what he's saying. हरि ने भीषण हुंकार किया अपना स्वरूप विस्तार किया डगमग डगमग दिग्गज डोले भगवान कुपित होकर बोले जंजीर बढ़ाकर साध मुझे हाँ हाँ दुर्योधन बांध मुझे. यह देख गगन मुझ में लय है यह देख पवन मुझ में लय है मुझ में विलीन झंकार सकल मुझ में लय है संसार सकल अमृत फूलता है मुझ में संहार झूलता है मुझ में. Now he is describing so nicely, the Virat Rupa, that what all is there. उदयाचल मेरा दीप्त भाल भूमंडल वक्ष स्थल विशाल भुज परिधि बंध के घेरे हैं मैनाक मेरु पग मेरे हैं दीपते जो ग्रह नक्षत्र निकर सब हैं मेरे मुख के अंदर. This so nicely, it's what Yashoda Mai saw. He's saying that inside my mouth all these are there. दृग हो तो दृश्य आकांड देख मुझ में सारा ब्रह्मांड देख चर अचर जीव जग क्षर अक्षर नश्वर मनुज सुरजाति अमर शतकोटि सूर्य शतकोटि चंद्र शतकोटि सरित सर सिंधु मंद्र. So nice. See, it's nicely he's describing that thousands of suns, thousands of moons, and then there is one sun per universe. So Ramadhari Singh Dinkar is so nicely describing here that there are not one universe, there are many universes, and then all these are actually present inside Krishna. Here it becomes even more clear. शतकोटि विष्णु ब्रह्मा महेश शतकोटि जिष्णु जलपति धनेश शतकोटि रुद्र शतकोटि काल शतकोटि दंडधर लोकपाल जंजीर बढ़ाकर साधिजे इन्हें हाहा दुर्योधन बांध. No, is clearly saying that there are 100 crore, 100 million Vishnu and Brahma and Lord Shiva inside me. Can you actually capture them? In a chain? Go ahead, do it. He's challenging. भूलोक अतल पाताल देख गत और अनागत काल देख, यह देख जगत का आदि सृजन, यह देख महाभारत का रण. मृतकों से पटी हुई भू है, पहचान इनमें कहाँ तू है. अंबर में कुंतल जाल देख, पद के नीचे पाताल देख, मुट्ठी में तीनों काल देख, मेरा स्वरूप विकराल देख. सब जन्म मुझी से पाते हैं, फिर लौट मुझी में आते हैं. जिह्वा से कड़ती ज्वाल सघन, सांसों में पाता जन्म पवन. पड़ जाती मेरी दृष्टि उधर, दृष्टि जिधर, हंसने लगती है सृष्टि उधर. मैं जभी मूंदता हूँ लोचन, छा जाता चारों ओर मरण. बांधने मुझे तो आया है, जंजीर बड़ी क्या लाया है. यदि मुझे बांधने चाहे मन, पहले तो बांध अनंत गगन. सुने को साध न सकता है, वह मुझे बांध कब सकता है. He's saying that this sky is like shunya, and then will you be able to tie it? And then these all are inside me. If you can't tie, you can't capture the sky. How are you even thinking about capturing me? हित वचन नहीं तूने माना, मैत्री का मूल्य न पहचाना. तो ले मैं भी अब जाता हूँ, अंतिम संकल्प सुनाता हूँ. याचना नहीं अब रण होगा, जीवन जया की मरण होगा. टकराएंगे नक्षत्र निकर, बरसेगी भू पर वहनी प्रखर. फणनेश शेष नाग का डोलेगा, विकराल काल मुंह खोलेगा. दुर्योधन रण ऐसा होगा, फिर कभी नहीं जैसा होगा. भाई पर भाई टूटेंगे, विषबाण बूंद से छूटेंगे. बायस श्रृंगाल सुख लूटेंगे, सौभाग्य मनुज के फूटेंगे. आखिर तू धूषाई होगा, हिंसा का पर दाई होगा. थी सभा सन्न सब लोग डरे, चुप थे या थे बेहोश पड़े. केवल दो नर न अघाते थे, धृतराष्ट्र विदुर सुख पाते थे. कर जोड़ खड़े प्रमुदित, निर्भय दोनों पुकारते थे. जय जय. This is wonderful. Find it very nice, describing not only the Virat Rupa of Krishna, but very very specific, very particular, and very aligned with our Shastra. So here, now coming back to this verse. So what we discussed so far is that why Arjuna wanted to see this Virat Rupa form. And second is, so the reason he wanted to see it, so that in the future nobody just falsely claims that I'm God, acts like a litmus test. Second is that why he needed Divya Drishti, because devotee's mind is fixed on the Shyam Sundar form of Krishna. So they are not ready to see any other form. Also this Virat Rupa form, Mayavadis accept on. Prabhupada explains that Mayavadis think about it, that that's the ultimate one. But we can understand that it's Krishna who is showing the Virat Rupa form. It's not the Virat Rupa which is showing the Krishna's form. So it is something which is, as we saw the example of verse number 364 from Srimad Bhagavatam, that Virat Rupa form appears in the material world, and it's not permanent form of the Krishna. It is actually the temporary form which is being shown, and then maybe for our purification of the senses, and to see that how this world is actually everywhere Krishna is present. We can think, but it's so. For example, when we look at the trees, we can think of that. Yes, it's the Krishna's. You know. Here on Krishna's body, when we look at the mountains, we can think of that. Okay, these are Krishna's bones. We can so that way. It's the Virat Rupas, not Krishna. It's Virat Rupas bone. When we look at sun and the moon, we can think of them as the eyes of Krishna or eyes of the Virat Rupa. So in a way, rivers are the veins. So it's to purify and then immediately, kick our imagination or senses so that we connect these things with Krishna. So it's primarily for that. Otherwise, it's not the real form of Krishna. The two-handed form is the real form of Krishna. So from here onwards, verse number 15 actually it started. So from verse number 15 to verse number 38, Arjuna is describing. He starts by describing that how is the Virat Rupa form looking, and then he goes on and then. He says that, okay, what is the effect of it? Effect of the Virat Rupa form. And then he's saying that by this Virat Rupa is actually invoking fear in the demigods. It's actually invoking, as we read in that poem also, that Dagmag Dagmag Dikkaj Dole. So all these different dishain, they are actually they are actually afraid. They're feared. Then what is also Krishna had said to Arjuna that you can see whatever you want in this universal form. Okay? Past, present, and future, all is present. And then later on, in the later verses, Arjuna will actually see that Bhishma Dev, Karna, they are all actually dead and are present. They're dying in front of they are actually stuck in the teeth of Virat Rupa form of Krishna, and that's how he will actually. Then he will also become fearful. Krishna, Arjuna himself will become fearful. So that's how actually it goes till verse number 31. So I would like to stop here 10 minutes and then see if there are any corrections, comments, realizations one wants to share.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Bhusha Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad.
Prabhuji, very nice, different perspective of giving a kavita, and then, although I could not hear the whole lecture, but I heard the last 10 minutes, and really appreciate your, innovative, nice approach to that. Thank you so much. Just wanted to say thanks to you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I see note from Sachi Mataji. She's always encouraging. So thank you so much, Mataji, for encouraging. Yes, that poem is very beautiful. And point I actually wanted to highlight with that is that our our poets, from India, we see that they're very, if we see the earlier poets, they'll actually be very aligned with the Shastra. In fact, that's where all these, they would write poems only about that. In childhood, when we'll see Surdas, Kabir Das, all these actually will be. I'll not understand, but now you see that how they are actually in the Tulsi Das ji. Now how they are in the dasya bhav, they are servitorship form. They are actually very nicely engaging in the service of lordship, and are actually so nicely aligned with our Shastra. They are very learned, not like present days poets who are just writing necessary nonsense and garbage. So thank you so much for pointing that.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Pranam, all you Shishira Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for a wonderful experience. I just had a comment and a question follow up to prior comments in the class that were made. So the poem that we shared, I'm not sure the poet's name, but very nicely put the words in Hindi, because we relate a lot to the language and also the feeling behind and emotions behind it. I was also trying to think from a different viewpoint, because we come from the country and the culture. We are more familiar and attuned to that sort of. And since we are also learning a lot of new realizations by reading Shastras, but I also have seen, Prabhuji, that through work experience or through different exposure to different communities and people, there are so many souls who are not even aware about anything about Krishna consciousness, but they are perfectly Krishna conscious. They don't even know nothing about India or Vedic culture or Bhagavad Gita. And the reason I say that is because there are so many souls who are perfectly Krishna conscious without even knowing that there is Krishna, but they know that there is an analogy, and they are so realized on the path in their life as a human being. So I can give you examples like motivational speakers, book writers, famous folks that are from the unconventional industries and diaspora. They come from like a musical background. They come from science background. They come from psychology background. So nothing related to the Shastric school of knowledge. So that was one comment. And the question I had was, we mentioned something related to mythology. So that struck my head, and I had to ask Prabhu, why so many living entities? I don't even want to say devotees, non-devotees, because all of us are practicing and sadhakas. I've heard them saying that, oh, Krishna does this, water comes out, fire comes out from here and there. These are all made up stories, and this is all mythology, and therefore this is all unreal. So I just wanted to ask, like, from where does this come from, and how do we deal with such circumstances?
So very nice question, Mataji, and nice realization as well. So poet's name is Ramadhari Singh Dinkar. I can also share that link here. Now coming to the point where you said that you see there are people who do not know about the culture background of Krishna consciousness, but they act and behave in a way which is very nice. If I understood that correctly. And they believe in energy. So yes, Mataji, you are very right, that intrinsically, we all are Krishna conscious, because whether somebody agrees or not, Krishna is present as Paramatma form in everyone's heart. So it is only a matter of time when you connect with the devotees, and then you have this enough piety, sukriti accumulated, and then you start to learn about, and then you actually know about Krishna. But because we all are part and parcel of Krishna, so that nature is already there. In fact, Prabhupada explains that this seva bhav which we have is because our true nature is to serve Krishna. Okay? But because we do not know, so we get engaged into the service of other extensions. Because we have that nature is there, but we have forgotten our identity. So that's why we are actually serving the extensions of this body. For example, serving somebody is serving country, somebody is serving family, somebody is serving environment, somebody is serving an animal. But that is because intrinsically we all are, there is Krishna present, and then that's why when we do something good, we feel good about it, because and then when we do something bad, our atma is actually producing that guilt. Okay? So that's why we can understand that, okay, yes, this good qualities are present in people, knowingly or unknowingly, because we all are part and parcel of Krishna. Okay? But a Krishna's devotee is much more better than a person. Prabhupada says that there cannot be a good quality in a person who is not a Krishna devotee. He goes on to say so much. So Prabhupada goes on to say, up to that extent, that there cannot be a good quality in a person who is not a Krishna devotee. So yes, and then at the same time, Bhagavad Gita itself is telling us that even if a person has done an abominable act, but if he's Krishna's devotee, we should actually forgive or ignore that mistake. Because I was actually today morning I was listening to Radhesham Prabhu, and he gave wonderful example on that on this particular point, the why when somebody is somebody who is engaged in Krishna consciousness and then does a mistake, then why we should forgive and not actually work on punishing that person. So he gave an example that, imagine that a boy is walking with a father, and if the boy has done some mistake, and then you take it in your hand and then you go and slap the boy, then the father will slap you back. Because boy, what you can do is that you can think about, you can imagine, maybe you can tell the father that this boy has done this mistake or that mistake, but you cannot take it in your hand to correct or fix that boy's mistake. So that's how we have to understand somebody who is engaged in Krishna consciousness, that Krishna will actually take care of it. Now, your third point was about mythology, that people saying that if fire is coming from mouth, or Krishna is expanding into so many or Hanumanji is jumping from one end to the other end of the ocean. All these different examples. There are so many Herculean tasks which is done by Bhagwan and his devotees, and how do we understand that? And it's very simple, Mataji. As I was taking the example of that Kupamandu, because we have our senses are limited, our understanding is limited. So we cannot understand, and whatever we don't understand just cannot be wrong. For example, there was a period when Earth was considered flat, and anybody who was saying that Earth is round, people will go so much so against that person, that person will be rendered death punishment. The church will order, and then people will be just killed. So also Earth was considered at the center of the at the center of the solar system, and then sun was supposed to be rotating. That was our understanding. Okay. But with the time, understanding grew, and now it's considered, we know that Earth is not flat, Earth is round, and sun is at the center, and all these planets are actually circulating around the sun. So some people have hidden agenda to kill the culture, and then kill the knowledge, and then destroy the fabric of this Sanatan Dharma. So they come up with all these different agendas, and then different things which will demean or lower down this or put this knowledge in bad light. But we do not have to. What we can do is, we don't have to unnecessarily engage in that discussion unless the person is favorable and ready to listen and understand with proper logic, because that will unnecessarily be a waste of your time, waste of the energy, and it's also one of the 10 offenses is that do not preach a faithless person. So yeah, it's one of the offenses. So we just have to avoid that person. Does that make sense, Mataji, what I said?
Yes, definitely, Prabhuji. I appreciate your input. Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. And we will conclude today's session. We have another call to attend. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you so much, Akhilesh Krishna Prabhu, for such a wonderful class. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for joining. So let's conclude then with praise. Vancha kalpasya. Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaudi Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Gaura Premanande.
Thank you, Akhilesh Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Akhilesh Prabhu.